Hello and welcome to my gaming experience. I'm Sword Rush, and this is another episode of Clone Drone in the Danger Zone. There was a recent update where I wanted to go through some of the things. What you just saw actually was me dying to one of the new enemy types, which is I think called the Fleet Commander, and it has, it's pretty tough. You have to be pretty careful because that laser is one-hit KO no matter what you have. So you do have to watch out, but the other part is one of the other features that they added was armor, and now all of this, the yellow outline on each of the different characters, robots, gives them additional hit points, basically, to be able to take them out. So as you can see, I'm kind of rebounding with my attacks off of some of these enemies before I actually kill them. So a lot of these strikes would normally be one-hit KOs, for me anyway. But now it can take several hits, like with this archer, it just took me a bunch of hits to be able to kill him. And they also added another challenge associated with that, which is what's going on right now, is just a bunch of different, well, sort of, I guess, regular levels, in a sense, but you're having to go against all armored enemies, as well as you get armor as well, which is really nice, but effectively, this is still more or less the same game. There isn't a lot of changes. It's more like increased difficulty with the armor. It's not necessarily a whole lot different, really, the new enemy types. So there's the two that I've seen so far, and I think there may only be two new ones. There's that particular weird crawler fleet commander guy with the sword and the crazy laser gun. But there was also this other businessman type unit or something. I'm not exactly sure. And it was a lot harder of a swordsman. The game made it seem, at least one time, because I've played this game a lot. I actually picked this up out of nowhere, didn't even realize there was an update, and started playing, and I really enjoyed. I still enjoy this game a whole lot. I think there's a lot of good things to this game, and I like that there's actually still a level editor that you can play, and I just haven't gotten around to really trying my hand at creating levels. But the businessmen, don't ask me, I don't have a picture of it right now, maybe I'll put one up. It seems like a much more flexible swordsman. These guys are pretty easy to take down, these regular swordsmen, regardless of what level they're at least for me, because the whole strategy, and that's the whole thing, is that this game, it can be really easy despite the sort of what appears to be difficulty, and that's because most of the time all you have to do is be slightly faster than your opponents, and you do that by moving at their side and swinging with a side attack, like right there. And this kind of regular strategy that I use is I go head on to them, then turn to the side, then move slightly to the side so that I can get a side swipe at them, and I do it quickly enough right there that it's effective enough. Again, like I just won. I didn't use any lives. I didn't take any hits whatsoever. And that's because most of them, when you go head on, most of the enemies when you go head on will try to strike you down with an overhead attack, which leaves them very exposed to side swipes. And it seemed like the businessmen guys were a little more resistant to that kind of a just bloody attack or effective attack. So like, and this run is actually, this is all from one single run. I managed to actually complete the entire puzzle. What you didn't see right here is that I actually died one time on this level with a very lucky strike from one of these guys, but then I went in and was able to kill literally every single enemy after I'd lost that one life. So yeah, I think that part of the game design that they have for this particular game is that while it isn't necessarily super challenging, I do really enjoy it, and I think that to make it more challenging would require a number of changes, particularly to hitboxes and collision meshes, because there seems to be some problems with where weapons are actually striking, where part of my deal is that I don't just actually aim for the midsection all the time. That one I definitely aim for the midsection, but a lot of the times I will actually try to aim a little up to be able to take enemies out. And that's really helped me. Actually, this particular scene is going to show you a little bit how broken some of the abilities are in this case. You can get block arrows ability, and basically I'm not using any. I used maybe like 2 strikes in this entire part of the match to take these enemies out, and one of them misses. I basically kill them all just by reflecting these arrows, and I'm not pushing any buttons. The game is doing it automatically. So there's one of my missed swings. The game is just blocking the arrows and killing enemies for me, which there was no other enemy types in this one. So there's my second strike. So definitely some cases of way too easy. But honestly, I know that I am actually somewhat okay at this game because, like this one. Okay, so I'll step back a little bit from the actual being able to play this game really well and talk about the actual level design here. So this one's really open, but I think that the thing that I want to focus on is this purple color throughout this whole background. A lot of the times these levels can be very, very bland, and even just one tiny accent color can completely change how this game feels. Because this one little change, it's so different, but the yellow against the purple makes it look fantastic, and those little things are really what I like probably the most in a lot of this part of the game. But let's see, as you can see, so they added armor right there. Sometimes they'll have repair if you're weakened, but that's the whole range of abilities. They didn't add a whole lot, just that armor right now, and I'm hoping to see more additions. But like I said, it really, really needs hitbox placement, because one of the weapons, like the hammer, I found that for the most part, there's a problem with how the game interacts with the actual stem of the hammer and where it hits. So you can actually like swing the stem of the hammer through an enemy, and the head of the hammer won't actually hit the enemy, which is completely confusing, because really they should at least be buffeted, or like they should be pushed out of the way by the stem of the hammer, even if the hammerhead didn't hit them. But what that causes is it causes a problem with you go for a swipe. Like I said, you kind of go to the side, you try to sideswipe them. Instead, your hammer kind of goes basically straight through them, and their down strike hits you and kills you. And I found that to be really frustrating. And that basically makes the hammer a no-go in the game, which is why I almost solely use the sword. I will use the bow if I have to use the bow. So one of the other things that I did with this update is I completed all the challenges. You saw it a little bit ago. Every challenge in the game I've completed so far. Not any custom-made challenges, which I hope sometime I'll get around to playing some of those, but I completely lost my train of thought. Because I was watching this, and I wanted to point out one other thing that I recommend very highly, which sort of, it doesn't necessarily break the game, but it makes it much, much easier to play, and that is the I almost got hit by the hammer. The jetpack, which you can see me using all the time. And why I use the jetpack so much is because the game, if you had no jetpack, if you had no extra speed boost at all throughout the game, there would be no way to win. Or at least it would be extremely hard to win. Because when you get to multiple enemies that you can't defeat, or that are very difficult to defeat, then what ends up happening is that you don't have enough speed to dodge every single attack, and you don't have enough speed to outrun everything. So you get caught up in these situations of multiple enemies all converging on you at once, And when they're converging on you, then there's no way to get in strikes and dodge at the same time. And actually, let me see, the hammer strike that I was talking about before may come up because the enemy still is able to take you out with that hammer strike, even though you can't do the same to them, which is really confusing to me. Let's see, it's this guy right here. I think I'm not going to be able to dodge. And the hammer's really, really powerful. This is one of the toughest enemies, for me at least. Go, come on. I knock off his armor, I almost get him, and then... Oh, come on, where is it? I tried to dodge his hammer because it's very tricky to dodge, to get out of the way of that massive hammer. I'm running around, and see right there. I get killed by that stem of the hammer, but if I try to do that to him, then it wouldn't actually work. And if the game is going to get more challenging by creating tougher enemies that better predict your movements and where you're going, and also avoid environmental problems like right there. So instead of trying to confront him, I just made him fall into the spikes that killed him, which is a fair tactic, mind you, but if the enemies are going to get harder, where they try to avoid these environmental impacts, where they aren't so easy, like right there, that guy got killed, he just ran straight over it, and another white guy in the background right there. If they're going to make the enemies more challenging, then they're going to need to put better hitboxes. They're going to have to really get pretty gritty with making sure that everything actually hits like it's supposed to, because otherwise it's just going to get frustrating. And that's part of the problem with game design, is that when you make things more challenging, they also have to be very, very fair. I got really lucky. And okay, so here's the very last level that I did. And this is when you're going to see complete chaos. I've defeated the challenge at this point, mind you. So I'm just screwing around it right now. I'm just trying to see how far I can get with what little resources I actually have. And this Spidertron, I think this is called the Spidertron 6000. It has two different eyes. You have to knock them both off. They're both armored separately. It lays a bunch of those bombs, which knocks you over. And when it knocks you over, it leaves you exposed to be able to get attacked like that. So that was a very fair strike. And actually, I get another fair strike on me, which ends the game here in a little bit, because I just wasn't paying attention enough, honestly. There were so many enemies. I couldn't keep track of all of them at the same time. But mainly, what I was trying to do is that conventional wisdom would suggest that since the Spidertron 6000 does knocks over its own enemies, that you might want to leave it so that it knocks over and exposes other enemies for you to go over and swing attacks, because that's... So my strategy, again, is to pick off enemies one at a time, kill them, but sometimes I don't get around to that. And, well... I hope you enjoyed this. I do really like the game. They're going to come out with more storyline later, and so I look forward to it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you again next time.